Hi, welcome to Glow's Candid Kitchen, and I'm Glow. Well, today we're going to be making a pork pot pie. And the reason why I'm doing this today is because a little while ago I had made a slow roasted pork roast out of a Boston butt pork roast, and I had some left over, so I froze it and I vacuum sealed it, and then I vacuum sealed the gravy as well. So I have the perfect thing to make a pork pot pie today. So, and in that, I put some cream of mushroom soup in that pork roast, but I didn't have any mushrooms that I added. But today, I am going to be adding some baby portobello mushrooms to the gravy that I had froze, and I vacuum sealed the gravy as well in a quart jar. And my vacuum sealer has an attachment so I can vacuum seal the jars. So I'm going to go ahead, I cut these up in like bite-sized pieces, and I'm going to add this right now to this so they start to cook down. There we go. And I'm just going to stir this in. This is going to be so yummy. So while that's cooking, we'll talk about the other. Boston butts are very flavorful. Actually, I think it's probably the most has the most flavor of the pork roast. But with that being said, they're fatty. So when I defrosted this, I went and took all that fat off and I just put it right back in my vacuum seal bag. And I probably have more than enough roast here for this dish. And so I'll probably keep some of this to have, I can make barbecue pork sandwiches with it. I can make pork sandwiches with it. I can make a pork stew with it. There are so many things you can do with leftover pork. But today I'm going to be adding some of it to this. And I just cut it up in bite-sized pieces, so it's easy to eat. So, and then also what I did is I took one carrot and I cut it up in bite-sized pieces. I peeled it and then I steamed it. So that right now this is al dente, so you know it has a slight crunch to it, but by the time we cook this in the oven, it'll be perfect. And then along with that, I'm going to be adding some steamed peas, some of these sweet peas. So, and I'll put those in frozen into this, and by the time I get it into the pie, it'll be perfect to put in the oven. And I have my oven already preheating to 400 degrees, and we'll be baking this probably about 35 minutes. So anyway, let's see how this is coming along. I think I'm going to let this cook in here, you know, the mushrooms cook away here just a little bit longer. So I'll be back with you in just a little bit and we'll continue on. Well, our mushrooms are nicely cooked in here, as you can see, and that gravy is nice and thick. And this gravy is seasoned with the cream of mushroom soup, like I'd said, Lipton onion soup mix, marjoram, thyme, sage. There's a little teriyaki sauce in there. It's just and of course pepper. But it's just a very good savory gravy. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of this meat into it, and I don't think I'm going to need all of this. Just play it by ear. I'll show you the size of my pie plate so you guys can see. It's just an average size pie plate. So when I went ahead and I did up my dough before we started this, and I'll put a attachment on our video as well for the pork roast, you know, when I roasted it, and also for the pie crust. It's called Glow's Flaky Tasty Pie Crust, but we'll give you a link for that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add the one carrot that I cut up into bite-sized pieces. And I'm going to add some peas. That looks like it might be enough. Let's see. And you can add potatoes to this, sweet potatoes, whatever you have on hand. I didn't add any onions or celery to this. I felt like it had enough seasonings going on, but you could easily do that as well. There. So we're going to let that just cook together there nicely for a moment, and I'll go on to the next thing. So I made this pie crust before we started, and I covered it with saran wrap so that it wouldn't dry out very much. And what I do for a pie crust when I'm making something like this is I whip up 1 egg. And I take a pastry brush and I brush on the inside of the pie crust. The reason I do that is so it seals the pie crust so it's not seeping through as it's cooking. When I say seeping through, I mean the mixture of the, of the pie that we just made. And this will have a top crust as well. So I'm going to be back in just a little bit. I want to bring this up to temperature and then we'll continue. Well, it's ready for us to put in the pie shell. What I did is I just heated it up till you can see the steam coming off it. I just turned the burner off, but it was starting to bubble. So, and by doing that, it's going to cook a little quicker. So I'm going to go ahead and pour it in here. Let me turn this so I can get this. I'm sorry. I'll get as much out of it as I can. There we go. Oh, that's perfect. You don't want it overflowing because then you're going to have a mess in your oven. I couldn't have planned that better if I tried.
Looks pretty good, Miss Clown.
So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the top crust on. I covered this with saran wrap and I'm hoping that I'll be able to put it right on there, but we'll see. And this pie crust is fairly forgiving, so if it breaks, we can put it together because it's been sitting here for a while. In fact, it's starting to break now. I was hoping it wasn't going to dry out. There we go. So need to pull it over just a little. You just want to try and get it centered as much as possible. There we go. So how I do this is, can you see how some of this is hanging off here? We don't want all of this pie crust like that. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut some of this off. Well, we like crust, but that's a little too much.
Lucy will eat the leftover crust.
No, she won't. It's not very good for her. There. So I'm just going to move that out of my way. So what I do is I fold this under like this. I'm just going to go all the way around. And this pie crust is very easy to make and forgiving. You can press it together, and it's been sitting here for, what time is it? Oh, about an hour actually. Or you can use, a refrigerated pie crust, like Pillsbury or the store brands. That would be fine too.
This one's better.
It is delicious, but it does, you have to prepare it and everything. So if you don't have time, and there's times I don't have time, those refrigerated ones do come in handy. So now what I do is I crimp it with I take my thumbs and put it on each side, and then I take my index finger and then just press. You could do it with a fork if you wanted, whatever way you want to do it. These pies don't last very long. They're so good.
That's for sure.
Almost done. There. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut some slits so that the steam can come out. So you just want to do a few. It kind of looks like a sun, doesn't it?
A little bit.
Yeah. So, and then what I do is I take this beaten egg and I go all over the crust. And it makes it so pretty when you take it out of the oven. It'll be golden brown. And it adds flavor too. As you can see, this pie doesn't take any time at all to put together because you've already done all the work when you had cooked your roast and your gravy and everything. And this is the third meal we have gotten out of that little roast that was on sale for, I believe it was 99 cents a pound. Plus we have plenty for at least probably 4 sandwiches, or could do a casserole or whatever. So very economical. With price of food today going up like it is, this would be a great idea when they're on sale. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven for probably about 30 to 35 minutes at 400 degrees, and we'll be back in just a little while. Hi, well, it's been about 20 minutes since we took this pie out of the oven, and I went ahead and cut a piece out of it. And I got to tell you, it is delicious. I did take a bite earlier, and then I started I had a tickle in my throat, so we had to start this over, but I'm looking forward to the second bite. You guys, you gotta try this. It is so good. It's savory, the crust is super flaky, and then the peas and the carrots and mushrooms, oh my gosh, it is just delicious. That pork, so tender. But do you remember when we were getting the pie crust on the top? We had the pie crust going around it that I cut off. Well, I did up 3 small pieces and I brushed some egg white on it. And then I sprinkled it with cinnamon sugar. And when I make my cinnamon sugar, I put cloves, allspice, cardamom, and nutmeg in it, as well as the cinnamon. So I sprinkled that over the top and baked that for about 12 minutes. So that'll be our dessert tonight. I don't waste anything, especially with the prices like they are today. And these are just delicious. Our kids, when they were home, they always liked it when I made this kind of stuff. So anyway, if you liked this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. We would really appreciate it. And give me a comment. I hope you've enjoyed. Talk to you later. Bye.